December 1864, Union General William T. Sherman had completed his famous and destructive march to the sea, capturing Savannah, Georgia, on Christmas Day. There he sat for an entire month, planning his next move. On February 6, 1865, Sherman's army marched north into South Carolina through swamps that were thought to be impenetrable. On February 17, he captured Columbia and by the end of the month was at the North Carolina border. Robert E. Lee, now General-in-Chief of all Confederate armies, called General Joseph E. Johnston out of retirement and tasked him with defending the interior of North Carolina. Johnston's first task was to reassemble the once great Army of Tennessee, which had been scattered after the disastrous Battle of Nashville the previous December and had offered no resistance to Sherman during his marches through Georgia or South Carolina. In the meantime, General John Schofield, after capturing Wilmington, was determined to link up with Sherman from Wilmington and New Bern. The first objective for him to capture was Goldsboro. On March 6, Schofield and his subordinate in New Bern, General Jacob Cox, began the advance on Goldsboro. On March 7, Cox met the remnants of Braxton Bragg's army retreating from Wilmington at the important crossroads of White Fork, outside of Kinston. The Confederates held their ground, driving back the Union Army. But by March 19, Schofield's troops had arrived and Bragg was forced to retreat to Goldsboro. Union troops advanced and occupied Kinston. The ironclad CSS Noose fired its first and last shots in battle at Union cavalry advancing on the town. Then, her crew scuttled her and she sank. Her remains lay on the bottom of the Noose River for 100 years before being excavated in 1964. They are now on display in Kinston. Sherman had crossed the North Carolina border on March 8 with 60,000 men and captured and burned Fayetteville on March 11. Joe Johnston was busy gathering his forces in the town of Smithfield. Realizing that he couldn't hope to defeat Sherman's entire army, Johnston decided to try and catch part of the Union forces away from the rest and wipe them out. On March 10, Sherman's cavalry force was surprised at Monroe's Crossroads by Confederate cavalry, which captured artillery and supplies before being driven off. The commander of Sherman's cavalry, General Judson Kilpatrick, was almost captured. Johnston was keeping a close eye on Sherman's advance. But Johnston needed more time to get the remnants of his scattered army together. He ordered Lieutenant General William Hardee to follow Sherman's advance. Hardee deployed his 6,000 men outside of Averasboro to try and delay Sherman and buy more time for Johnston. Hardee deployed his men in 3 lines blocking the main road in the area. Union cavalry made contact with this line on March 15, and skirmishing continued until nightfall. The next day, after a 5-mile march in a thunderstorm, Union reinforcements arrived. The next day the battle began again, with Union troops attacking across a ravine attempting to outflank the Confederates. After fierce fighting, the badly outnumbered Confederate first line was forced to retreat. By late afternoon, the Union troops had reached Hardee's third line, and the skies had opened up in a downpour. Sherman postponed another attack until the next morning. But Hardee had accomplished his objective by delaying Sherman's advance for 2 days and withdrew to Smithfield in the night to join Johnston. Sherman then resumed the advance on Goldsboro with his men separated into 2 columns, attempting to trick Johnston into thinking he had Raleigh as his objective. But Johnston's blow was about to fall. The blow fell at the tiny hamlet of Bentonville in Johnston County near Goldsboro. On March 19th, the left Union column under Major General Henry Slocum clashed with Confederate cavalry outside of the village. After beating off the cavalry, he found himself attacked by infantry, driving some Union units from the field of battle. Later in the day, Confederate commanders launched violent attacks in an attempt to break the Union lines. Slocum sent out urgent calls for reinforcements and managed to hold off the Confederates around the Morris Farm until nightfall. During the night, Johnston pulled his men back to a better defensive position. On March 20th, elements of Sherman's right column arrived to reinforce the Union troops. But Sherman did not press the attack. He overestimated the rebel strength and had a large number of wounded to care for. In fact, Johnston had only 21,000 men to oppose the 60,000 men Sherman could muster after his right wing arrived.